Does baptism save you? How important is baptism? Well, I grew up in an evangelical church where baptism wasn't that important. Oh, we believe in baptizing people, but to us, it was the sinner's prayer that was said that saved the person. So when the preacher would finish a sermon, he'd give an altar call, and when people came forward, they would say a sinner's prayer where they would make Jesus Lord of their life. And at that moment, that's when we believed the person was saved. So later on, when it was time for them to get baptized, some of them got baptized, and we looked at it as just a symbol. Well, as a Christian, I was committed to the Bible. In fact, my church told us that everything we practice is in the Bible. So as I began to study the subject of baptism, I began to realize baptism was far more important than my evangelical church led me to think. For example, in Mark 16, Jesus said, "He that believes and is baptized shall be saved." So apparently the Lord believes that baptism is important, that it's part of our salvation. And then Paul wrote in Romans chapter 6 that we're buried with Christ through baptism. So it seemed like baptism was the means by which we got put into the body of Christ. But I suppose above all scriptures was the passage in 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 21. Peter says, baptism does now save us. Wow, he didn't say it symbolizes our salvation. No, Peter says baptism does now save us. But then he warns us not the removal of dirt from the body, but the pledge of a good conscience toward God. The baptism, saves us by the resurrection of Christ. The point is, if your heart is right at baptism, that is, you truly are repenting and wanting to live a new life, then God uses baptism to save you. So as I began to study the New Testament, I began to realize the altar call, though it's important, it wasn't a replacement for baptism. And I think that's been the problem with evangelical churches. We try to bypass the means by which a person enters into salvation by skipping baptism and tell a person, just say these words after me. How simple that is. But the moment it was time to baptize them, you know how many of those people said, no, I don't want to be baptized. I was happy to say that prayer, but not get baptized. And then I began to wonder, is it possible that we've been short-circuiting the means by which people were supposed to get saved, and we did not stress the importance of baptism? So friend, I came to conclude that baptism is the normal means by which we get saved as we call upon the Lord and confess that Jesus is Lord.